our journey. So you might have seen on the title, I have changed the title, Enemies of the Mind. So, how to address the enemies of the mind. So, today's our topic is who is the commander in chief of these enemies? Once we know who is the commander in chief of these enemies, then we have to find out how to address it. But before that, since the last session, how do you find the journey? What changes have taken place in your thought, in your speech, in your action? How many times you were upset, anxious, fully busy since the last session because of the commander in chief? Now, I'm not talking about Biden. Don't be mistaken, He is the commander. And then I raised a question that did you think over it that we have no right to die before I find out who am I? So we will try to find the answer that who is the commander in chief. First thing, we should be clear that this existence never takes birth nor dies. And what neither takes birth nor dies, what it means that there is something that never takes birth, that never dies. Just take an example. The wave always appear and disappear. It means it takes birth and dies, but the water never dies. Water anywhere, everywhere. So we have given that existence a name that is real self. To be very clear. So on that real self, it appears that the body has taken the birth, body grows, becomes old, and dies. Same thing with the mind, intellect, breath, and ego. Real self is not a thing of name and the form. It is consciousness. We have been understanding that. So in the waking state, this consciousness works through the mind. We are going deeper. You have to pay attention. So what I said, in a waking state, this consciousness manifests through the mind, and all experiences takes place in the mind. If you have any doubt, you can raise the question. The real self never takes birth, never dies. It is consciousness. In a waking state, consciousness manifests through the waking state. And now all experiences takes place in the mind: pain, pleasure, victory, defeat, likes, dislikes, hatred. They are happening in the waking state. Do you experience hatred in sleep state? Pain or pleasure in deep sleep? Nothing is happening. We claim in a waking state that I am suffering. So why I brought this topic, the waking state never changes. What is on the surface of a waking state changes. What is on the surface of the water, the wave appear and disappear. You are in extreme pain. So we have found a very simple solution. to substitute any object, anything in the mind whenever we have a pain, to fall into unconsciousness, and ultimately we get rid of the pain for some time, and then it returns again. I'm totally upset with my honey. So my mind goes to buy a drink. One drink, second drink, then, I'm still thinking I still have a pain. But in the waking state, that pain seems to have dissolved. So we have hundreds of means we have found out. Then what is the result? Then it is like a snake and ladder game. Snake and ladder game. It appears as if we have reached to the height. I have proved that you are 100% wrong. So I feel little bit relaxed. But ultimately, that relaxation is falling in unconsciousness. Have you realized that? And that fall in unconsciousness derails the entire journey of self-discovery. We are trying to find out who is commander-in-chief. That is the question. So because we are laying an introduction, then who is the commander-in-chief of these enemies of the mind? Wave is blaming that I am suffering. Now take the same example. A particular event, that is the wave. Or a particular object, or a person, or a thing, or relationship. All are happening in the waking state, so they are the waves, because they do not continue forever. A particular event does not stay forever. So that is why it is a wave. So that wave is claiming and blaming that I am suffering because of you. I believe. So I am suffering. I have a lot of problem with you. I have a lot of stress because of you. Don't you think that, I will never go to that restaurant because it has created indigestion in me. I am, that I am is very important. Something happened with our relationship with reference to the I, and that I is the wave. So the commander-in-chief is the ego and the selfishness. But then there is again a problem. Without ego, I cannot exist in the world. What should I do? Commander-in-chief of the enemy, commander-in-chief of the enemies of the mind is ego. But what kind of an ego it is? That has a selfishness, and that is unripe ego that has never practiced the conventional methods in daily living. You practice the conventional methods, you know how to educate this ego. I'm talking because of the ego. You are listening because of the ego. You have a desire to eat pasta. That is because of the ego. So that is why we say we have to transcend the ego. We cannot live without ego. But that ego has to be ripe and unripe, like the fruits. So the commander-in-chief in our material life, personal, professional, and social life, the master is the ego. It's a pure ego or impure ego. So we will understand how it becomes impure and how it becomes pure. So once we have a clear understanding, what we are exactly doing, we have reached to that question to answer that who is the commander-in-chief of the enemies, because we are doing a self-inquiry. What is self-inquiry? It is the best method to remove the impurities of the mind. That is what we have understood. But without applying the conventional method, this ego is uncontrollable. And when this is uncontrollable, then what happens? The trio, duo, to duo, likes and dislikes causes the attachment and detachment. We will go in detail that what exactly is the like and dislike. What happens to the mind? What happens that it covers the waking state completely when you have the strong likes and dislikes. That is why you have an intense love for a particular person, the second person doesn't like that person. So that intensity of the love, it is not the love, it is emotional dependence, it is an attachment. And behind all that attachment, the commander-in-chief is working. So unripe commander-in-chief, unripe commander-in-chief has a preference, have a liking, have a sense of attachment, have a desire, have an expectation. All they go together. So all the enemies are present in the mind. They have to support commander-in-chief. You have any doubt, you can ask the question. So you have to understand it clearly. On the other side, we already understood that when there is a purity of the mind, it works like a shock absorber, emotional freedom. Wrong notions are gone from the life. Mind awakens to what is right and good. The unripe ego does not stand for what is right and good. It stands supporting their armies of likes and dislikes. One pair, desire, hesitation, and the greed. Second pair. And third pair is the ego and the selfishness. I can make it little more clear what happens. What happens? So I don't want to name a person and from which country. Now, which country I can give because he's attending my private lessons. This guy is from India. He has a good friend. People come to me for these solutions also, financial and other matters. The beauty is that I don't have anything. So he said, I have a good friend. We were working together. And he said that why don't you invest some money in shares? I have an expertise. Give me 1 million rupees and I will give you a return of 10 or 12% every month. 6 months, 10 to 15% of return was given. After 6 months, he backed out. Whether he lost the money, we don't know. And now he has refused to give the money. So he told me the problem. I said, you have been attending my sessions and you are evolving. And suddenly now we are discussing the topics which has no relevance to the self-discovery. Have you seen that for the last couple of weeks and the months, you are totally frustrated? I'm not saying do not invest. But what was working behind you? Now he has become your enemy. He was your friend until he was paying you. Do you think do you understand about your mind? The person is the same. Name is the same. Age is almost the same. Everything is the same. So who gave the label? Friend, now enemy? So I said that first you have to recognize, you have to calm down. You have to be in the state of discernment. You have to be in the state of dispassion. And then fight with her, fight it. That is going to help you. So last session also we were just discussing about this. That what has happened to the mind, no, I will complain to the police and then this will happen. I said, no, you have to first be very clear. So all your practices for the last 1 year has been wasted. Now go to the trio: desire, hesitation, greed. Invest, do things, earn money. Minus this, you loosen, you dissolve, you minimize the power of commander-in-chief. Did you understand that? Say yes. One day, one day, the girl is honey, and the second day, it is gone. Commander-in-chief. We have to think of it. And now understand another part, that why this self-inquiry is the best method. There is an ignorance and there is an impurity. Ignorance, the impurity is caused by the ignorance. And the best method is the self-inquiry. The self-inquiry gives me the right knowledge, the right understanding. So if I remove the ignorance, the impurity will be gone. Think. So we have to think. I'm just teaching from this text, that gives you a step-by-step approach. Likes and dislikes, one pair. The moment I have a likes and dislikes, and if I become aware, let me have a choiceless awareness, understand it clearly, why I like, why I dislike, get rid of that. So I'm minimizing the impact of that ego. Otherwise, you cannot find ego. You cannot find ego anywhere. It will change its color. So I have to find it with reference to the likes and dislikes, with reference to the desire for seeking peace and happiness outside in the world, from the event, from the condition, from the person. And third pair is the ego and the selfishness. And I've told you, the siblings of these impurities of the mind are anxiety, attachment, depression, unwanted thought, unwelcome thoughts are there, restlessness is there, the mood swing is there. You instantly react. You are extremely extrovert, because the moment your mind starts looking inside, you find restlessness and wandering thoughts constantly. See another, what is the importance of this I am? Let me give you an example for you to think. Something happened, to this girl 10 years ago. And she was telling me that, whenever I recall and remember that event with my husband 10 years ago, I get totally upset. That event is not happening. It did not happen for the last 10 years. But that commander-in-chief recalls that I is more important. That makes that event more relevant to my life. I hate to see him. I said, that guy is enjoying it. He has already left. How many times we get upset? We are anxious. It is how many times we react. It is coming from those past impressions. That reservoir of those impressions. We have to get rid of it. Emotional experience, painful. I still feel too much of emotional pain when I remember the event that happened 20 years ago. You are a great person. That's why you remember. Leave the past. That is why I have not written anything about my profile, how much depressed I was. American way of presenting, I was suffering so much, but now I'm enjoying too much. It is a preference of likes and dislikes. Why to remember? Why to recall? It is working. It is working everywhere. Answer. Another question. Do all the impurities work under one commander-in-chief? The answer is yes. So what is the solution? Don't fight with the ego. Uproot the basis on which the ego is based. So that is the phrase our masters are using, transcend the ego. Whenever you require it, work, live with that ego in the personal, professional, social life, family life, but ripe ego. And then say goodbye. The moment you say goodbye, I can assure you unwanted, unwelcome thoughts will never enter you. I can promise you. Another part that is again very important, you have to link here. We have to work in a waking state to remove these impurities. We have to deal with the ego, commander-in-chief, in a waking state. If you think, let me have 3 drinks first, and then I will talk about commander-in-chief, it will not work. You are already intoxicated. And if your mind says, first solve this problem, this guy is crazy. I have proved it. What should I do? It will not work. Do you see the meaning? Master says, transcend the ego in a waking state. So even in a waking state, we fall into unconsciousness. Habitual pattern. We insist. So now check the attitude of the mind. When I insist, I force myself, my opinion, my judgment. Commander-in-chief is working. No, you have told me everything about this commander-in-chief. But what is this? Do you see the pattern of the thinking to make everything clear? Who is this commander-in-chief? It is reflected consciousness. What is reflected consciousness? It is moonlight. Moon does not have a light. So the mind is an instrument, borrows the consciousness from the real self, and then it, in the intellect, it has an I thought. That is what the reflected consciousness, that is what the commander-in-chief. Does the commander-in-chief has any basis? It is reflected. You can play with it. But when this commander-in-chief plays with you, it creates a lot of problems. Are you getting it? Did you get an answer? That how to use this people? Where I said, who is commander-in-chief? This is reflected consciousness. What is reflected consciousness? Mind borrows the consciousness from the real self, and then mind has four. Whenever you use the mind, it has four functional aspects. One, mind is one. Four functional aspects. What are the four? Mind in the memory, intellect in the ego. Four functional aspects. Entity is one. So what is this ego? It is an I thought in the intellect. Can thought ever exist? Any thought. Can any thought ever exist? Give me an example. Oh. So, but why I give too much of importance to I thought? Likes and dislikes, desire, hesitation, and greed, ego and selfishness. You find any other area, tell me. That is the beauty of the understanding. Are you fighting with that ego? Then you are not doing a self-inquiry. Are you suppressing it? You are not doing a self-inquiry. My friends, it's very easy. If you care, if you just closely look that there's likes and dislikes, desire, hesitation, or suffering, or plus the greed, and ego and the selfishness, they all are working on the surface of a waking state, and the waking state is independent of these impurities of the mind. So I get attached. Why I get attached? I thought. After all, you have not respected me. You see that? I can give you, every day we use millions of these kind of thoughts with reference to the world, event, situation, relationship. Can you really imagine that what happens? The mind is constantly having influx of unwanted, unwelcome thoughts. It is because of this. So same I thought says my mind is wandering, and same I thought wants to control the mind. And that is why we say, where all the impurities, all these impurities are hiding in the mind. Do you have any hatred and liking for anyone at present? No, I don't have. But when the same person appears in front of you, from nowhere, then those impression appears. Do you see that? From nowhere, those impression appears. Our face expression, our speech, our thought, our energy level, everything changes. All together comes from the I thought, who is the commander-in-chief of all these impurities of the mind. So waking state is a challenge and opportunity. I'm conscious. I'm aware what is happening in my mind. Rather than focusing on a situation, on an event, on a memory 10 years ago. I have to live consciously. That brings us to the state of mindfulness. And then what happens, my friends? What happens? It is the impurities of the mind supported by the I thought, that I thought, when it realizes that now I have reached to an extreme of a hatred, then what I thought says, I'm worthy of suffering. You see, I have been suffering because of you for the last 10 years. Are you getting it? Say yes, please. I've been suffering because of you. You created this situation. So in that statement, what is most important? I am worthy of suffering. Why I am worthy of suffering? Because of you, because of the situation, because of the event that took place in my life. We highlight it. We make it so big. 10 years ago, we have already heard from the motivational speakers, So, I enjoy listening to them. I said, okay. So this guy is still suffering because he is still reminding. So do you want me to remember the event that happened 20 years ago in my life to become big? I'm not interested. I'm not interested in that. That first you are asking me to remember that dreadful event, or event of a hatred, event of suffering, event when I did not have the money. Think. You have to think. You have to make a choice. I'm just speaking out that knowledge. So I am worthy of suffering. Entire life finds failure, fear, frustration. It changes the direction of the mind. It strips the wisdom. That is what Buddha has explained in the Four Noble Truths. And then we will start. What are the Four Noble Truths? The world outside is suffering as long as it identifies with the I thought. I thought creates its own world. You are money, so you are my honey, so I expect love from you. Do you know what love is? Expectation is attachment. Attachment comes from the likes and dislikes. You give me any statement pertaining to the world. So the first noble truth, the world is suffering. Second, there is a cause of the suffering, impurities and ignorance of the mind. What is the third? There is an absence, there is a state, absence of suffering. The waking state is never polluted. But why I feel so? Because I identify myself. Why I identify? Because of the I thought. Oh, so there is always an absence. Yes. And the Buddha says the fourth, there is a way to bring an end to the suffering. And that way is what we are learning. Close your eyes. Let us start our journey. Eyes are closed. So again, now see, now look closely this commander-in-chief. The commander-in-chief says that you are uncomfortable. Use this, I thought. Let me be comfortable. But then the same commander-in-chief returns again. It says, no, you have not adjusted the position. So again you adjust. Then it says it again. And it repeats. So what it means? Did you understand why it is the commander-in-chief? Likes and dislikes keep on changing. The position of the body keeps on changing. The entire journey goes with a wandering mind. And then you have done a successful meditation. That's a joke, you're successful. So adjustment of the body, eyes are closed. So you are consciously aware that I thought is working. but not working with the support of likes and dislikes, not working with the support of desire, hesitation, and now everyone settles down. I know that. But here in many sessions, moment I say, when I used to go to uh, in-person sessions, so I said it took many people moving their head, right, left, up, down, hand, leg. That is the sign of your wandering mind. And then being comfortable, move the mind on the entire body. Do you still remember? From subtle, physical to subtle to subtler. Entire body from the top of the head to the toes. Sensation can felt in steadiness. Then the space. And there's a smooth sailing. And if it is smooth, what it means with reference to the impurity in the I thought, you know it. It's your experience. So we will not spend too much of time on the first 3 and 4 steps, so that we have more time to spend on deeper aspects of meditation, being carefree. So I will just say lane 1, lane 2, lane 3. You are in lane 3. But at the same time, you are aware that thoughts are coming and going in the mind. But what do you mean? You don't have any preference of likes and dislikes. Let the thought come and go. My friends, understand this. We are going subtler and subtler, deeper and deeper. The third step is also done. Then the fourth step, Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu. I may say 3 times, but while chanting, and you are also chanting 3 times, and you already go deeper into the knowledge, meaning and the knowledge. Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu. Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu. So instead of mind moving with the I thought, your mind is moving with the mantra. Let everyone be happy. Meaning, happiness is essential nature. The one common desire for every living species is happiness, whether they are aware of it or they are not. Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu. Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu. Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu. Let there be peace for all. What is the common desire for every living species? Including the plants who have the sensation, who have the life, including the mosquito and the elephant and the tiger. If you contemplate and reflect, if you do the inquiry, we find, yes, Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu, Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu, Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu. Let there be completeness and all. Still the I thought is still working. Do you see the importance of the mantra? It's not difficult for you all to realize the impact the mantra does in its meaning and the knowledge. Let there be wholeness, completeness. Where is the completeness? That cannot be the part, property, and product. That cannot be divided. That is independent. Who is that? Real self. Body, breath, mind, intellect, ego, breath. Nothing is complete. I thought always divided. You like me today, tomorrow you hate me. I thought. Waking state remains the same. Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu. Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu. Sarvesham Mangalam. That is why, in order to bypass, transcend that I thought, we have a moment of auspiciousness. So that auspiciousness moment is not selfish, limited, like a wave. It perceives one existence taking care of all of us. I'm inviting that auspicious moment. Your mind will stop, refuse to have a wandering state. Looking inside the forehead in the space, Om Shanti continues gently, mentally, and start breathing quick and short breath from the chest through the nostrils. Keep on, continue. So you will also recognize the impurities of the mind and how the commander in chief is attracted to those impurities, creates a reaction, anxiety, duality, conflict, forgets habitual reaction, even during the practice of meditation. So once we know it completely, we keep on. We say, we recognize you, but I will continue. And stop this. The next so-called step, how I explain it, recognize, accept the changes that your mind is experiencing. Why? When you recognize and accept the changes, you can replace the previous and the past experiences created by an I thought, commander in chief, which claims I am worthy of suffering, will be resolved. In both the cases, you are using the I thought. Do you see the difference between the ripe and the unripe? I believe so. Looked inside, keep on Om Shanti, and then start breathing from the belly. The little longer breaths with an expansion and contraction of the belly, as if you're inhaling into the belly. Basically, you are inhaling into the lungs. It's a diaphragmatic breathing, to say it scientifically. Longer breath, but you're not moving your rib cage. Your focus is on the expansion and the squeezing of the belly. You inhale, the belly expands like a balloon, you squeeze it. Belly muscles goes down, it touches the spine, so to say. Symbolic. Continue, my friends. So not only you are breathing, that appears very simple, but through this breathing as a tool, you are recognizing how the commander-in-chief is working. Mm, mm, mm. 3 minutes is now a play and a fun for you all. Yeah, on some day, it's okay. The nostrils are apparently closed, and then we find it difficult, but still we keep on doing it. Why we keep on doing it? You know it. You don't agree with the commander-in-chief. And that disagreement is met by the practice at the conscious level. Mm, 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 mm. Self-inquiry reveals the knowledge, and the knowledge in the intellect with the practice, with the reference to the body, instantly dissolves this commander-in-chief. How come? Stop it. And how come? You have a change in your experience. You recognize and accept it. What it means, you are ready to replace these experiences with the past one that claims I'm worthy of suffering. I'm trying to make everything clear to you. Yes, looking inside the forehead, Om Shanti continues in the space. And now you have to do the longest breathing that engages the belly and the chest. You inhale, first you expand the belly and the chest. You exhale, the belly squeezes to the chest. Mm, mm. Follow your own pattern consciously, because everyone should be breathing differently, especially the noise level should be different. Why? Because of the capacity of the lungs, the, the, the past impression, the DNA of the lung, and a lot of factors. How long I have been living in the stress, that has an impact on the breath, a lot of other stuff. But we continue. You are paying attention. You are conscious of expansion and contraction of the belly and the rib cage with the longer breath. You are also aware an expansion of the belly and the chest during inhalation and a contraction of the belly and the chest during exhalation. My friends, continue. Our goal is to end of suffering and of all the suffering and awakening to an entity that is independent, all pervading, not a part, product, and property of anything, means not independent. And that is what the pure consciousness is, the real self. Continue, no worries. I'm keeping track of the time, 3 minutes. Remember, it's a longer breath that engages the belly and the rib cage. And now stop this, do nothing, directly move into the cave of your heart. We will follow up that nyasa later. Move the mind inside the cave of your heart, looking to visualize the equilateral triangle pointing upward. Three things: awareness of the side, movement of the mind, and dropping Om Shanti on each side of a triangle, clockwise, anti-clockwise, depending on you. Maybe one time clockwise, other time anti-clockwise, or maybe three times clockwise, three times, and that depends exactly on you. You should have a total freedom now. Why? Very subtle, pure ego is still maintained. That we want to get rid of. We'll talk about it. Om Shanti. Om Shanti. You're saying off from the mind. You're moving the mind on that side. Sinks. When it sinks, then you can move the mind deeper inside from the center of the triangle, push as if you are pushing the mind now with the one. And you see in that horizon, mind seemingly stops. You say Shanti, self-absorption is there. You are listening to me, other thoughts are also there, but you are still self-absorbed. Can it happen when we are intoxicated? No. Keep on. Continue. So we already understand when I forget means mind is wandering. It has picked up a thought with these impurities. We remember, we recollect, we return again on the triangle. Casually you return again. You're coming to my house and you find that you have reached somewhere else. You do it casually. So don't get upset. Don't force the mind. Do not struggle. It's not required now. You struggle impurity and ignorance. Fighting impurity and ignorance. Self-inquiry, right knowledge is there. And now leave the triangle. We'll start with the japa. Mind's eye, mind's skin, mind's sound. Picks up the first segment, the index finger from the lower to the higher. Shanti. Second Shanti. You're not touching. You're not physically touching. You're not physically listening. You see that what I'm saying? You're not physically seeing. Everything is happening in the mind because the mind is the knower of all the sense organs. Not only we know consciously all the sense organs, but we are asking these sense organs which is living in the mind. And it's just a play and a fun now you find it. You have unusual experiences on these points of the fingers. You see who is touching. But be very clear, it has nothing to do with the magic. It is a natural state of the mind beyond Commander in Chief. Shanti. Now leave this, do nothing, remain in that state. I should not use that phrase, but still I'm using to express so that you understand. It's a perfect waking state. Means what? It is independent of whatever is happening. What it means? Think of it. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Bring your awareness on the right hand, your awareness on the left hand. Is it reflected consciousness? Yes. It is an I thought? Yes. Is it a right eye? Yes. You see? Bring both the hands on both the palms on your eyes. Cover the eyes with both the palms. Open the eyes inside. Who is doing this? Know your experiences and bring the hands down. How are you, Stephen?
I'm good. That lesson made me do a lot of thinking throughout the entire lesson and the first part of my meditation. And I'm not sure whether I'm right about this, nor does it matter. But we're learning this separation between mind and real self. And today you talked about the fact that in order for us to be alive and exist, the mind has to always exist. So we're learning through awareness and mindfulness to recognize the impurities, these enemies of the mind. But the ego's never going to go away. The desire is never going to go away. It's through the awareness, it's through the mindfulness that we recognize that and erase the impurities and turn it to pure. And therefore, for us to reach where we need to go, the mind and the real self at some point has to merge and become the same. And that's what I kept thinking about over and over again. And it wasn't until we started the breathing that everything disappeared and I stopped thinking about it. And it became I haven't had a problem with the breathing, but today was like, it was so smooth. It was so effortless. It was just automatically moving right into the next one. And it was the thing that I found to be profound was not only was it effortless, but it was like, I knew when you were making the transition. It was like, I was right there with you and you said it. And I was like, wow, I was already getting ready to do that. So, but thank you.
It's a beautiful narration and understanding. But one thing should be made clear, that even if you are contemplating, so-called the thinking, but the reference of that thinking is what you have learned, no problem. That is not an impurity. But if you are thinking something else, that is an impurity. Because no, you are not present. Why you are not present? Because of the impurity, due to the ignorance, due to an I thought. So at the very subtler level, you have that sense of recognition. Why? I gave you an example that we, at present, none of us have any hatred, like and dislike, but the person appears whom I have hated for years. The mind says, now, I thought says, now I'm ready. Everything is okay. I'm very good. But I don't like this guy. We are removing those impurities. I believe that you have understood. Wonderful. Thank you, my friends. How are you, David? And Jerry is not there? Jerry is there? Yeah.
It's just David today. Jerry's at a doctor's appointment, but thank you. Yeah, very. Firstly, I just love your metaphors. Those, really work well for me, and it's this relationship between the real self and the, what do you call him, commander in chief, that I'm going to be contemplating on a lot. And it's almost like I want to declare an Independence Day to be independent of the commander in chief. So I love it. Lots to contemplate, and thank you.
Wonderful. Another metaphor. I never thought of it. You see that I take your experiences and I teach others. Independence Day, 4th of July is coming, but that is one way to see it. But why shouldn't I live in that sense of independence all the time? Beautiful. That's really beautiful. Thank you, David. So how are you, Sam? What about your independence?
I'm feeling very independent right now.
You feel today?
Yeah,
How many hours?
the whole time. Uh,
Okay.
no, breathing was very easy today.
Yeah,
And it flowed pretty effortlessly.
video. Wonderful. Yeah. Yes, yes. Pay attention to this, and then we will. Wonderful. Feeling the sense of independence. Where is Brandy? Here it is. How are you, Brandy?
I'm good, thank you. I found it especially meaningful during the mantra when you said something about nothing outside's really complete, because a lot of what I have going on externally feels pretty incomplete right now. And the juxtaposition with the completeness behind all of that was it kind of made that really pronounced today, which was nice. Because I'm just like, look, like things around here are broken and they're not, whatever.
It's so beautiful. I see that. You see that? I will use your narration, your experience in a different way. It just stuck to my mind. You see that when I'm in stress, it means the waking state plus the impurity of the mind. Nothing happens to the waking state. Do you realize that? Nothing happens. But we don't recognize because we are not treating the path of the Eastern wisdom. A guy comes, I hate, all expression changes. But behind that waking state is not changing. But it appears changing because of my impurity and ignorance. Are you getting it? I believe so. So once we have that sense of recognition, what is that recognition? I'm just comparing not in a complete way. It is modern psychology says what we say, but it is much more than that. Don't undermine this journey. They say CBT. Have you heard about it? Cognitive behavioral therapy. But this journey is much deeper than that. How are you, Barbara?
I'm very good, thank you. I was just thinking that, of course, it's very bad to allow a thought to trigger an emotion in you, or seeing a particular person to trigger an emotion in you. But isn't it important? I mean, there are toxic people out there. Isn't it important if a person or a thought can trigger a caution in you? Or is that wrong as well?
What are you doing, Barbara? Yes, we can say like this, we can shout, but without any likes and dislikes. We
Right.
let the things get done. Because if one is living totally unconsciously, then we have the ways and the means, but now this commander-in-chief is not working there. My wisdom is working.
Mhm.
My wisdom is, let it work. So that is, we have already bypassed it. So that is where we are heading to ultimately, so that the mindfulness becomes a fun and play.
Mhm.
But it should not be at the cost of one commander-in-chief is fighting with the other commander-in-chief. That is a big problem. Then we create an impression of this negativity and a reaction. Then those impressions, unless we follow the path, can never be erased. You still remember 10 years ago what happened. Yes, you are right. You rightly said. Wonderful. Thank you. How are you, Vaibhav?
Thank you, sir. Sir, I'm good. It's like I'm understanding that whatever happening in the mind, I'm still be free to pick up what is right in my present state. I can pick that this is whatever happening in my mind. It's like coming from the past memories or something, but I am not that, and I am here, and that is not bothering me. I'm free from that. It's even if it is coming, but I'm free from that.
I believe you all have understood. So what he is explaining, there are two I am. One I am is totally independent and free. Other I am is moving into the past, into the memory lane. Let it go. I'm not you. It's only a recognition. It's only a cognitive ability. Beautiful. That's another way to put it, So, how are you, Ashok?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
It was very good, and mind was peaceful and aware. I mean, and during the daytime as well, I keep on doing practice like Sakshi Bhav, you can
Hmm.
say. So that is also awareness. I mean, Sakshi Bhav, maintaining a Sakshi Bhav. I mean, I'm watching the thought, watching the activity, watching the scenario, and I am not that into that. I mean, I'm not the enjoyer. I'm not the, so that is the real self. I am the real self.
Yes,
साक्षी
yes,
भाव दिन भर मेंटेन करना 24/7 साक्षी भाव
yes, yes,
साक्षी
to
में
maintain
उठना
that.
बैठना साक्षी में सोना साक्षी में जागना I mean, that's it.
Maintain that witness consciousness, not intellectually, but by living.
By
I, I see the monkey, but I'm not the monkey. I see the thought, but I'm not that thought. Can I extend it? I see the thought of a reaction, but I'm none of them. So now you can make a clear distinction between the commander in chief, supported by the enemies of the mind, and you can see another I that is known as the witness consciousness. This is what, because in Indian tradition we use those traditional words, and that is we are moving ahead to that. So how are you, Anastasia? We have one more. Yes.
Thank you. Today was very deep meditation. I didn't want to come back. And I had a vision of dandelion, and my belly was moving easier today. And I've been contemplating on I am a woman, pretty basic thing. And I understood when I think so, I invite thousands of problems.
Yeah.
So today I got this thought: am I there to stay behind of this?
Yes, one thought is coming to me that a couple of weeks ago, your commander in chief was constantly haunting you, but you have switched on that thinking. Now everything becomes easy based on these principles. So that is, you are able to reflect on it, you are able to separate it. And that is definitely helping you. I'm not helping anyone, everyone is helping themselves. I'm very clear about it. How are you, Cherry? How can I forget you? Yes. Sometime. Then Brandy reminds me.
I noticed that each section that we did of the exercises, every time, like if I was listening to what you were saying, I stopped doing the thing. And then I would, like I could only do one thing at a time. I don't
Okay.
know. So I couldn't even complete one round of the japa. And then normally I go round and around and around and many times. This time I only got like 2 fingers done, for example. So I thought
Very-
that was really strange. But I noticed that, and
You feel the sensation in those finger points?
I do feel like yes, but I need to we're supposed to touch the point and then say Om Shanti.
You
I
have to.
said that one time.
You
And
have to.
I'm kind of doing it continuously, like I'm saying Om Shanti while I'm sliding to the next point. I
I
don't
think
think that's
everyone is clear, Terry, that you have to touch, but you have to touch mentally. You have not to
to
touch.
do what? What?
You have to touch mentally. You have not to
Yeah.
touch mentally.
Yes. I'm clear on that.
Oh, very good.
I just don't think I'm doing it the right way. So I wanted to check.
No, you are doing the right way.
Okay.
Beautiful. That is beautiful. Yes, bear with me. Sometime, I had something going on in the mind, and then I speak it out for the good of everyone. So once you know that you are paying attention with Om Shanti mentally, keep on doing it. Don't listen to me. Don't pay attention to me. Very good. It's better not to pay attention. How are you, Sangeeta?
सर बहुत पीसफुल था और आज सर ऐसे ही लग रहा था कि बहुत दूर से आपकी आवाज आ रही है और मन नहीं कर रहा था आंखें खोलने
Yes, that happens. What she is, her experience, that as if I'm very close to her and she is listening to me with a high pitch of the voice. It is possible when you are doing it mentally on the fingers. So obviously, this can also happen. It is the same thing. It's not a big deal. It has nothing to do with the magic. But it means that we are living at a higher level of awareness. That is all. Thank you very much. We will meet again.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Namaste,
Namaste.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Here, I have to close it, and then I have to. This is what I learned.